Forget silver platters and golden feasts. Queen Elizabeth's favorite foods were surprisingly down to earth. From jam sandwiches she ate daily since childhood to a cocktail she swore by before lunch, her royal diet was full of quirky traditions and comfort classics. Today, we're diving into the most surprising facts about what the Queen truly loved to eat. And trust me, some of these might be sitting in your own kitchen right now. Dish 1. Jam pennies, the childhood snack that never left. Of all the foods that passed through Buckingham Palace, one of the Queen's longest-lasting favorites was shockingly simple: jam pennies. These were tiny, round sandwiches, soft white bread cut into coin-sized circles, spread with butter and strawberry jam, with the crusts carefully removed. She was first introduced to them at just 5 years old, and unlike most childhood snacks we eventually outgrow, she kept them in her daily routine for the rest of her life. According to royal chef Darren McGrady, even in her 90s, jam pennies were a staple at her tea table. In a world of grandeur and protocol, jam pennies weren't glamorous, but they remain her comfort food, a sweet bite of nostalgia that reminded her of simpler days before the crown. But while jam pennies and light lunches kept her going during the day, dinner time was where tradition took center stage. Dish 2. Sunday roast, always well done, never pink. When it came to Sunday dinner, Queen Elizabeth stuck to one of Britain's most beloved traditions, the Sunday roast. But there was a twist. Her roast beef was always cooked well done. No pink centers, no medium rare. She preferred it fully browned, served with simple sides like vegetables and salad. At Easter, she'd swap the beef for roast lamb, keeping the holiday menu traditional yet personal. Royal chefs noted she was not one for extravagant sauces or heavy seasoning. Her tastes leaned toward straightforward, hearty fare. For a monarch who could have sampled any cuisine in the world, her choice of a classic roast spoke volumes. It grounded her in her English roots and reflected her no-nonsense approach to food, where tradition always won out over culinary trends. Dish 3. Gin and Dubonnet cocktail, the Queen's secret weapon. Before lunch, Queen Elizabeth often reached for a glass of her signature cocktail, gin and Dubonnet. Mixed 2 parts Dubonnet to 1 part gin, served over ice with a slice of lemon. This was her trusted midday refreshment for decades. She inherited the taste from her mother, and it became so closely tied to her that bartenders around the world began mixing it in her honor. Simple, elegant, and distinctly regal, it was a drink that balanced tradition with personal comfort. And while she enjoyed that sophistication in a glass, her appetite often turned to something far more rooted in their surroundings: fresh Scottish salmon, caught straight from the rivers at Balmoral and prepared in the simplest, most elegant ways. Scotland wasn't just the Queen's favorite escape, it was also home to one of her favorite foods: salmon. At Balmoral, fresh salmon was often caught right on the estate's rivers and prepared for her meals. Royal chef Darren McGrady shared recipes like salmon colibiac, highlighting just how much she valued local produce, dishes tied to place and heritage. The Queen often preferred her salmon lightly grilled or smoked, paired with simple vegetables, letting the quality of the fish speak for itself. It was a reflection of her character, modest, refined, and deeply connected to her surroundings. For the Queen, salmon wasn't just food, it was Scotland on a plate, a taste of a land she loved. Dish 5. Chocolate biscuit cake, the dessert she guarded with her life. While the Queen loved many desserts, none held her heart quite like chocolate biscuit cake. Imagine a rich, dense slab of dark chocolate mixed with crunchy tea biscuits, almost like a royal candy bar turned cake. Chef Darren McGrady revealed it was so beloved that the Queen would eat a small slice each day until the entire cake was gone. She simply refused to let it leave her table unfinished. It was her chosen treat for afternoon tea, but it also became a family favorite. Prince William loved it so much he requested it for his wedding reception, turning his grandmother's guilty pleasure into his own. Dish 6. Tuna and mayo sandwiches, her humble favorite for lunch. While palace kitchens could prepare anything from caviar to foie gras, Queen Elizabeth often preferred something you'd find in any picnic basket: a tuna and mayonnaise sandwich. Served on simple bread, sometimes with a touch of cucumber or butter, this was one of her go-to midday meals. Former royal chefs have admitted that despite having access to the world's finest ingredients, the Queen leaned toward unfussy, protein-packed lunches like this. Dish 7. Earl Grey tea and scones, her sacred afternoon ritual. Few traditions defined Queen Elizabeth more than her daily afternoon tea. At precisely 5 p.m., she would sit down to a pot of Twining's Earl Grey, brewed properly in a china teapot, poured into bone china cups, milk added last, and never a grain of sugar. Alongside it came fresh-baked scones, served the Cornish way, jam first, clotted cream on top. This wasn't indulgence, it was ritual, a steady anchor in a life of constant duty. The Queen believed tea wasn't just about taste, but about order, balance, and presentation. Even the smallest detail, like the direction a teaspoon faced, mattered to her. In a world where everything changed, prime ministers, politics, even public opinion, tea time remained untouchable, her sacred pause in the day. Dish 8, game meats, rustic flavors of the royal estates. Beyond salmon, Queen Elizabeth also had a fondness for game meats sourced directly from her estates at Sandringham and Balmoral. Partridge, venison, grouse, these were regular features at her dinner table, often prepared in simple, hearty styles. In fact, venison was sometimes served as burgers, showing just how unpretentious her tastes could be. For a queen surrounded by luxury, her preference for seasonal game was a reminder of her deep ties to the countryside. It reflected a practical, almost rural side of her, where food wasn't about excess, but about tradition and sustainability. These dishes told the story of a monarch who loved the land she ruled and who found comfort in the flavors of Britain's fields and forests rather than in foreign extravagance. Dish 9, Special K cereal, her surprisingly simple morning start. For a monarch surrounded by lavish banquets, Queen Elizabeth's breakfasts were surprisingly plain. More often than not, she started her day with a simple bowl of Kellogg's Special K cereal, poured from a Tupperware container, not even a fancy jar. Served at 8:30 a.m. with fresh fruit, it showed her no-nonsense approach to mornings. On rare occasions, she'd switch it up with something more complex and traditional, like the smoked haddock kedgeree, but she always preferred keeping it light and predictable. Royal chef Darren McGrady once said her mornings were deceptively ordinary, and that's exactly the charm. While the rest of the world imagined silver trays and endless options, the Queen found satisfaction in the same breakfast millions of people around the world eat every day. It was her quiet way of keeping things simple in a life that was anything but. Dish 10, Chocolate Marquise. The recipe she broke protocol for. Queen Elizabeth almost never requested recipes from abroad until she tasted the chocolate marquise. This frozen dark chocolate mousse, silky and rich, was first served to her during a royal visit to Australia. She loved it so much that, breaking royal habit, she personally asked her chefs to bring the recipe back to Buckingham Palace. That simple request speaks volumes coming from the Queen. The marquise became a regular in the royal kitchens, proof that even a monarch who dined on tradition could be swept away by a new flavor. Moments like this remind us she was the most human queen. She tasted something wonderful, loved it instantly, and simply wanted to enjoy it again back home. Dish 11, Birthday Cake. Tradition, a slice of royal history. Every year, without fail, Queen Elizabeth celebrated both of her birthdays, her real one in April and her official one in June, with the exact same cake, a rich chocolate sponge layered with dark chocolate ganache. This wasn't just a favorite treat, it was a family tradition dating all the way back to Queen Victoria. The recipe had been passed down through generations, making it more than dessert. It was heritage on a plate. The cake was both indulgent and symbolic, linking her reign to centuries of royal history. Even in the most famous monarchy, something as simple as chocolate cake could carry the weight of tradition and the sweetness of continuity. Dish 12, Sweet Tooth Legacy, dark chocolate, eclairs, and summer pudding. If there's one thing that defined Queen Elizabeth's palate, it was her undeniable sweet tooth, especially when it came to dark chocolate. She favored rich, bittersweet flavors over sugary confections, and chocolate eclairs were a regular indulgence at her table. But her love of sweets wasn't limited to cocoa. During the summer months at Balmoral, the Queen delighted in fresh fruit puddings packed with estate-grown berries like raspberries, blackcurrants, and gooseberries. Former royal chefs revealed she often enjoyed them several times a week when the season allowed. These desserts were a perfect balance of luxury and simplicity. Eclairs crafted with precision, puddings made with fruits picked right from the royal gardens. Together, they painted a picture of a monarch whose sweet cravings were as down-to-earth as they were timeless. And there you have it, 12 surprising facts about Queen Elizabeth's favorite dishes. From simple jam sandwiches to royal chocolate traditions, her tastes showed us that even a monarch found comfort in the everyday. If you enjoyed this dive into the unexpected side of history, make sure to check out our next video. It might not be about royalty, but it's packed with stories just as fascinating.